There's a whole wealth of employment legislation that's always evolving, but we are seeing now probably more changes in the next 18 months than we've seen in about the last 5 to 10 years. I've never had this situation before, and I think we're all guilty as business owners of thinking it won't happen to me, but then it does.
That's true.
Business owners need a trusted advisor to say, oh, this is changing, we need to think about this, we need to think about that. The high red score is an indicator of people that are willing to take risk, absolute problem solvers. They don't stop at the first hurdle. They'll find a way round it, over it, under it, break through it. They're not gonna stop. That is magical. When you're just out walking, you could have been trying to solve a problem.
Welcome to Working On It, the podcast for service-based business founders who want to scale without burning out. Today's guest is Sandra Porter. She's an absolute gem and a real expert. Sandra is a people development specialist with deep expertise in personality profiling. Now, as always, thank you very much for listening. Now let's jump into the episode. Yeah, so Sandra, thank you very much for coming on to Working On It.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I want to go back to the beginning, recruitment.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
And how do you go from recruitment to HR?
Mm-hmm.
And then is it right you worked for Starbucks and O2?
Yes. So going back to the beginning,
Yeah.
I fell into recruitment really. I'd done psychology at university, but I moved with my boyfriend at the time to Chester through like a friend of a friend of a friend, ended up working for a recruitment consultancy that was run by Tim Craig, who was Daniel Craig, James Bond's dad.
Yeah. James Bond.
James Bond. So I was, Miss Moneypenny maybe.
Yeah.
I was basically there just helping. I'd done psychology, as I say, at university. So there was some overlap, but psychology is quite broad. It doesn't really point you in any direction. It keeps lots of doors open.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it because it was a good way when you're a grad to be able to find out what roles there even are. Because how do you even know before you get into the world of work? Yeah. So it's a good
experience as well, isn't it? That's what everyone looks for most of the time.
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely. So I just wanted to get some experience, and it was good because I learned a lot about what different roles there are, what different departments there are. And then after a while, I worked with them for about 4 years. I was trained in psychometrics to help like personality profiling and things. And then I actually ended up going to work for one of their clients in workforce planning. So I turned up on the first day and I was supposed to be doing workforce planning, like crunching numbers on their forecasting and things. And the phone was ringing in the corner. And it was ringing and ringing and ringing. I was thinking, oh my God, will somebody answer that phone? You know me?
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, do you mind picking up the phone? I mean, they knew me, but they didn't know me.
Yeah.
So I answered the phone, and the HR officer had been dismissed. So I'd answered the phone on that desk, and they said, oh, actually, you can keep doing that if you like. So I really fell into it. I just fell into being a HR officer, and then I progressed through. That was it was Bank of Scotland. Well, it's Capital Bank at the time. Became Bank of Scotland. Became H boss. I progressed with them to a senior HR partner, looking after all bits and bobs like call centres and HGV depots, all kinds of things. And then went to O2 as a head of HR for retail, and then went to join Starbucks. So I sat on the board for them for 4 or 5 years. So yeah.
And what age was you when you sat on the board?
I was appointed when I was
of their
20.
HR department.
So I sat on the management board. So
Okay.
there was, so in terms of the UK and Ireland business, there was me and 2 vice presidents of operations, the chief exec, CFO, and VP of marketing, and I'm still very good friends with all of them. And it was a cracking team. So we were looking after UK and Ireland, supporting some of the smaller markets in Europe as they needed. So so it's 6,000 employees, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
It was busy.
And what age was you at that point?
So 29 when I was appointed. So
She was on the board of Starbucks.
Starbucks
at
UK and
29.
Ireland, yeah.
It's just so typical of you. It's just
Always in a hurry.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. So driven and just like not hanging around, you know?
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. So obviously HR has been a real, certainly a busy industry, isn't it?
Mm.
End of last year and this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of things have changed.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
And what do you think of the changes, the help or hindrance, and IR35?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the challenge is, as I'm sure with any role really, but there are so many changes in terms of obviously technology is having a massive impact at the moment. Everyone's considering AI. How does that affect their resources? How does it affect how they run their businesses? That brings with it some implications from a HR perspective, of course. There's also changes in terms of the generations that are coming into the workforce and what they expect from work, which is very different to generations before. So their expectations are very different, which also has implications for HR and how we engage that workforce and give them the meaning and the kind of collaboration that they're looking for often. And then there's a whole wealth of employment legislation that's always evolving, but we are seeing now probably more changes in the next 18 months than we've seen in about the last 5 to 10 years.
So there's more coming.
Yeah, lots more coming.
Wow.
Because,
Okay.
yeah, the Labour government, a big part of their manifesto was about kind of changes for workers and trying to make the workplace fairer for kind of people in all kind of walks of life. And that brings with it many changes that, as business owners like yourself, have to try to navigate. And that is not easy. So HR obviously kind of have to take on the mantle of just being able to keep up with it, give advice to the business owners so that they don't fall foul of something that they didn't even realise had changed.
Yeah, that's it.
And
And
all
that's
of
the
a sudden,
thing, isn't it?
yeah,
Because you've got so many other areas of business that you've got to manage
yeah.
that sometimes, and I know I certainly did back in 2018, where you come to my rescue. And that's when we met, was it
Yeah,
2018? You got
yeah.
me out of quite a sticky situation. And you almost not neglect, but you don't give HR the time that it perhaps requires.
Mm.
And that's what I think a lot of, or certainly perhaps SMEs, but maybe really small,
Yes.
even self-employed guys
Yeah,
don't perhaps understand.
yeah. It's so true. We've been growing as a consultancy since 2016, and it's a shame in a way. A lot of the growth has come from people that are calling us that have had their fingers burnt.
Yeah,
They've got a fire burning and they're thinking, oh my God, what do I do with this? I've never had this situation before. And I think we're all guilty as business owners of thinking it won't happen to me, but then it does.
that's true.
So, so often people have their fingers burnt before they realise the real need to take the employment side of their business really seriously. But as business owners, we've only got so many hours in the day, and we all need to know where we are with our finances. With GDPR, how that affects clients and customer data. There are so many things we need to have an eye on that I think it's very difficult for any business owner really to really keep up with employment legislation at the rate of change that is currently. And therefore, yeah, I mean, anyone in a HR consultancy role will know it's busy times because business owners need a trusted advisor to say, oh, this is changing. We need to think about this. We need to think about that, because you can't possibly manage it all, can you?
No, and that's it. And that's why, well, I'm fortunate enough to have you in my corner. And that was one of the things that I certainly helps me sleep at night, knowing that obviously because you and your team, you proactively sending me the details of what's
Yeah.
changing, what's coming up, the videos you do, etc. And that kind of brings that awareness to it. But it's so true about what you say about there's so many changes has happened
Yeah.
in the last sort of like 6 months, and I guess, well, now you've just told me
Yeah.
in the next
More
18
coming.
months,
Mhm.
it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But do you think that a lot of these changes are helping, or more so the employee or the employer?
I would I would say that they are helping employees more so than business. Um, I think it's very challenging. Whilst it's hard, I think, to disagree with the purpose of any of the changes and people having fair rights in terms of how they're treated and um, their rights from day one around family leave and rights to not be dismissed unfairly. The challenge is that the thing it does mean that many business owners, and I know this for a fact because I've had the conversations, are thinking, do you know what? It's just too hard.
Yeah.
Because if I want to employ somebody, say I'm running a cafe, and I employ somebody to work on a Tuesday, and they come in on the Tuesday, but then on that day they put in a flexible working request because they only really want to work on Wednesdays. Now, can the business go back and say, no, because we need you on a Tuesday? Yes. But the trouble is, it brings with it so much responsibility on the employer to have to give that due consideration, to respond back in writing within so many days. And it brings a lot of, I think the thought process is right, but it does bring a lot of responsibility on the employers to be able to manage their business, and fundamentally, I think most of us, as you have, as all of our clients have, they've started business because they want to provide the best cleaning services, or the best architecture practices, or whatever it might be. And therefore, they just want to find a team that wants to work hard and do a good job, and then they'll pay them handsomely for it, But life has got so much more difficult now. Being able to employ people, you're responsible for so many things. Their mental well-being, understanding their dependents, what leave they may need, watching out for burnout. There's so many things that I don't think really any of us were thinking about when we started a business many
No,
years
certainly
ago.
not. Certainly not.
And
I thought it'd be fun.
And yet, look, it's all resting on our shoulders. And so it is a real challenge. I can't disagree with any of the proposed changes, but I know I know it brings that huge burden to business owners, and I do think it's putting people off recruiting.
Yeah, because that's the thing. So with us, we've got, as you know, sort of majority of them are employed, and then we've got a couple that we bring in for extra work for subcontracting, but it's almost like, like in those mad moments when everything gets a bit overwhelming, you're like, do you know what, to put everyone on subcontract, it'd be a lot easier. But what I find, and what I have found, because we've had some people that just made that jump,
yes,
you lose that like culture.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and whenever I've started at the business, and whenever I've kind of like thought of like the decisions, etc., it's like, okay, well, how will it affect the team?
Yes, yeah,
And that, I think, is the reason why I started, because I wanted to start a business that helped people have a better version of themselves and enable them to get better and so on, but for them and their family. And I know it might be like old school, like in a sense, it was always the way, wasn't it? Years ago, you'd have a job and you get looked after and then so on.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think the average employment is about 6 to 12 months or something before someone's like on to the next one.
Absolutely.
Hopping around is quite popular now, isn't it?
It is.
Staying for more than 2 years is not so popular. So whereas we grew up in a time when, if you stayed there for 20 years, they clearly looked after you, so it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think having that culture for us has enabled us to really grow that team, but attract the right team. But I think if they were all to go subcontractor, I think you lose that shine.
You do,
and then you perhaps lose the way, I guess. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's unfortunately what I know a lot of people in the industry. My industry of commercial window cleaning, it's dominated by subcontracting.
Yes,
We're the rare ones.
Yes, yeah.
To have as many employed as we do, we're the rare ones.
Yeah,
but
indeed.
On the flip side of that, we're fortunate enough to have a queue of people that want to join us because they've heard what we do.
Absolutely.
And that security, that stability.
Yeah.
And I think it's certainly difficult, isn't it, to make that or to say which is the right way to go.
I know. And I think sometimes it's almost a battle between your head and your heart.
Yeah,
I think, because
definitely.
sometimes your head will say, oh, do you know what? To be honest, life would be easier if they're contractors and they sort their own taxes out, and you don't do performance reviews, and there's no obligation either way. But it can be difficult to run a business when there's no obligation for them to provide hours.
That's right.
So there are some challenges with that. But I agree in that I think the heart you have in your business, and the strength of the Aquamark team is absolutely that they're a team.
Yeah.
And you do so much for the team in terms of their personal development, and helping them kind of build the skills, both in terms of the technical side of your business, but also just helping them being able to develop, and you can't do that with contractors. They just turn up and provide their services, and therefore it does make for a very different culture. And I think when you spend as much time as we all do at work, culture's huge, isn't it? It does. Like, would I want to go to the office every day with people that are contracting and maybe don't have that level of investment because they're also maybe doing other work on the side, or
that's right.
Then no. My preference is absolutely I choose to employ the team because I want them to be really invested and I want to work on their development with them. It's important to me, and therefore there is that dynamic all the time, isn't there, between your head and your heart, about what's right for your business.
It's so true. It really is, and that's you've hit the nail on the head there because that's a couple of decisions that I've had to make
Mm.
since these changes,
Yes.
and then trying to make it attracting on both sides. You know, if people want to come to me and they say, "Oh, look, we want to do this," okay, fine. How's that going to work? Well, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
It really is difficult to do that, you know, and you do lose the culture, I think, when
Yeah.
you make that switch.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but yeah, so HR superstar.
Oh.
Yeah, no, we'll get back to that in a sec. We'll get back in a sec. So, running a business, writing a book, and a board of Kingston Chamber.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think on work-life balance?
Hmm. um.
Because obviously you've got a lot to go on with obviously your HR and knowing you, you've probably got a couple of other things up your sleeve as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
that's going on that's not quite out there yet.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see what do you think of
Yeah.
it? So again, you probably have to put your HR hat on
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your entrepreneur hat on, and I
Yeah.
wanted to see what you thought of it.
I think it's a real challenge, but I think the way that my brain is wired and always has been that I don't really separate them.
Yeah,
Like I'm so invested in what I'm doing. At any stage of my career, this is. I've always been so invested in it that I haven't said, right, well, now I'm going to turn off my work head and I'm going to put on my life head.
yeah,
I just don't do that. I've always been one that unfortunately is kind of checking my phone and, but sometimes I'll stop during the middle of the day and take the dogs out or, go and see a friend for coffee or something. And then I'll clock back on. But I've never been a 9 to 5 person.
yeah,
Never. Um, because there's almost it's a really tricky one. It's almost a sadness in that kind of going, right, I'm done for the day. I'm now going to have my life.
yeah,
Because I kind of feel like my work is often what gives me a lot of purpose.
yeah,
That's what drives me. I have this continual strive to want for better. And therefore I don't really turn it off. I just have to at times be very mindful of what are the things that I do that help keep me healthy in terms of my mind and my body. And so making sure that I'm prioritizing in my week time to do exercise, time to walk the dogs, which I find is just a brilliant way to relax my mind. Um, what is it I do that keeps my brain and my sanity in
yeah,
check?
yeah,
When am I speaking to my friends? When am I contacting my sisters? When am I, the things. So I feel like it's all of the things that need to happen in a week and keeping in check that it doesn't go kind of too far one way or the other. But I don't I don't kind of keep it in certain blocks.
yeah,
I'm a lot more fluid than that, but everyone has their own way.
yeah, and that's so true because so obviously we're quite similar.
Yes.
I feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
Surprise. And it's always like there is no life work balance. It's just life.
Yes.
And there was this thing, and it's like a Jim Rohn is like
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
enjoy the passage of time.
Yes.
And it's like life is a journey, so try and fill it with as many positive experiences as possible.
Absolutely.
So everybody has different versions of what they call positive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, and I'm guessing for you,
Yeah.
I don't mind picking up the phone and doing some LinkedIn stuff and some emails. I actually
Yeah.
find it
Yeah.
like I'm getting things done, like
Mm.
as if you're doing something for your home or
Yes.
whatever it is, it's just getting things done.
Yeah.
But it's all working towards part of the journey.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. So when people go on about work-life balance, you're like, whenever people go on about it so much, I feel
Mm.
that it's almost like perhaps your work isn't contributing enough to your life
Yeah.
in a sense, because it is just one big journey
Yeah.
you're
I
all
mean,
part of.
I think sometimes when people are talking about work-life balance, it's almost like they really begrudge the time they spend at work. Sometimes,
Yeah.
not always, but it feels like sometimes people are just like, oh, make sure you check out of work so you can go and live your life, and have fun or enjoy or, help yourself be better. I completely agree with you. But I will sit down sometimes in the evening and I'll do something that improves my home or I'll do something with my kids or whatever. And then I'll go, oh, actually, I'm just going to sort out that agenda for tomorrow. And I do that. And that's great. It makes me happy
Yeah.
somehow, sadly. It's like the feeling of doing a good job and
Yeah.
caring about what I do, but balancing that with looking after my home and being with my family and looking after my kids and walking my dogs. It's all kind of part and parcel. I don't begrudge any of it.
Yeah.
There's
That's
times certainly when it's been harder than others. And COVID was really challenging for us as a consultancy because it was full on, particularly homeschooling as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it was really challenging. But I don't begrudge a minute of it.
Yeah.
and therefore it's more fluid than maybe
That's right.
others have.
It's almost like, dare we say that it's like a hobby?
Mm,
You know, like,
yeah,
because I love it. I sit there at night and I'm watching business videos.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like
yeah,
how to get even better or how to improve or
absolutely.
something. I'm just searching for that little extra bit of nugget. You know, like
Yes,
just sitting there watching it, and it is a bit of a hobby, isn't it?
yeah,
Really,
yeah.
it's
I
so
think it's kind
funny.
of, it keeps you very intellectually sharp, I think,
Yeah,
just constantly kind of building those relationships with people, understanding people's problems, understanding the law for us, what can we do? How is that going to affect people? I think it keeps me sharp, and I
yeah,
think that's a really healthy thing.
yeah,
At times in my career, I've certainly felt quite stressed. And I've got much better as I've got older in terms of knowing what my triggers are for being stressed and knowing what to do about it if I'm getting to a point of thinking, oh God,
yeah.
this is keeping me awake. Okay, so but I think that's understandable. Like he's never just going to be perfectly
No,
contained within that stress bucket. It's sometimes it overflows a bit.
yeah.
But I think it's just about knowing yourself and being able to keep that in mind all the time.
And I think touch on a few key areas there is like knowing yourself,
Mm.
but I think that probably comes with one age, as
Hmm.
in not saying that we're old.
How dare
No,
you?
not that. I mean, as in
Yeah,
the extra year that you're alive and you're
yeah,
experiencing more and more things, the more experience you gather.
yeah.
It's just part of this passage of time,
Hmm.
infinite experiences.
Yeah,
And I think you get to a certain point where things don't bother you as much
yeah.
and you focus on the stuff that you kind of prefer doing.
Hmm.
And I think that just comes with probably not age, because you could have a very busy life. It's you sat on the board of Starbucks at 29. So it's understanding what ticks your boxes and what doesn't.
Yeah,
But when you get stressed,
yeah,
and you've already touched on walking,
yeah.
would walking be your go-to to unwind?
Um, uh, Walking with the dogs is good because it gets me away from a screen
Yeah,
and it puts me in the woods or wherever, and that definitely has a big impact for me. It's also just about quiet. Sometimes I just need quiet. So
yeah,
I just need to be able to close the door, and it doesn't mean I have to be doing anything necessarily. It's just being able to let my thoughts kind of percolate without interruption. That
yeah.
sounds really naff, but it's just
It's
letting
brilliant.
my brain just go where it needs to go. And sometimes that's when I have my best ideas, and that might be about what I'm going to do with the kids, or holiday next year, or a new product I want to design for work. And my brain could go anywhere, but it's allowing that time for it to just do what it wants to do.
Yeah,
When sometimes the brain can be pretty busy. But to your point about, as you kind of grow older and you have more experiences and you learn from that, one thing I really notice, and because I do so much interviewing for work, we're hiring for quite a few roles at the moment, I don't think that's a given. I think there are lots of people that might be older than us,
yeah.
have had lots of experience, but haven't necessarily reflected on what they've learned from that. They might have
Ah,
been in a company for
yes.
10 years, but actually done 1 year's worth of experience 10 times.
Yeah.
Because I think there are some of us, I think, that are more prone to reflect, to think about what what should I learn from that? What could I have done better? And I think that's a brain wiring thing. I've always been the same. That kind of striving for improvement, I
Yeah.
think, is what most entrepreneurs have. But it means that, when I'm out at a meeting with one of my team, Kirsty, say, we'll come out of every meeting and say, right, what could we have done better? Is there anything better we should have prepared? Is there anything else we should have considered? In terms of handling ourselves, how did we do? And trying to be quite critical of it in a positive way.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody does that.
No.
I think there are many people that get quite late in their careers and actually haven't learned many lessons
Yeah.
because they haven't had the drive to, or the humility to reflect on actually where they could be better. What have they learned? So yeah, it's not a given.
Yeah. Do you
I
know
think it's a
what?
quality.
It's so true, because the reflection part,
Mm,
I think that's really, really vital, because that gives you that knowledge of exactly as you said, where
mm,
did I go wrong? What can I have done better?
yeah, yeah.
And so few people like do that.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the key areas. And yeah, so that's absolutely spot on. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
I think you did a post recently about discipline and how
Yeah.
discipline is so important.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part, or it's always been a part of my discipline, is around, okay, even if the meeting has gone really well, even if that sales call has gone really well, still, what could I have done better? What would I do differently next time? What can I improve? And it drives that kind of continual improvement and stops complacency. But it's that discipline that you're always doing it, so you don't go stale, really.
Yeah, that's a really good trick to do, actually.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I mean, I do it at the end of the week. So I kind of do the journal, and at the end of the week I kind of review the week gone past, and
Yeah.
and a lot of the time I didn't hit any goals that I set myself out for.
Yeah.
And I have to just shuffle them back, you know, and let me go again
Move
this
them
week, let
around,
me
yeah.
try and go again.
Yeah.
Because life gets in the way, things get in the way. Like
Yeah.
last week was crazy, but this week's a much better. Already we're on Wednesday, and already I've had a more productive week than I did last week. Because last week I got hardly anything done, or I felt I got hardly anything done.
Yeah.
And this week you think, right, I'm bang on this week, you know.
Yeah.
And you just get times like that, don't you, where nothing gets done.
Absolutely.
But you think, okay, why didn't it get done? And understanding why it didn't get done.
Yeah.
Really, really helps you think, okay, do you know what? How can I stop that or have that less?
Yes.
And then let me make the next time more productive.
Yeah. And look at what's within your control, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
How much of that was going to happen regardless? Or how much of that actually could I have mitigated that had I done something else differently? Holding yourself accountable for what's happened. Sometimes life just happens, but sometimes it's just consequences of...
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But then, there is those consequences that pop up that you think, do you know what? It's just one of them things. Like last week, a lot of them was just one of those things, staff being off, etc. and so on. But there was a few in there where actually it was my own fault. Like, do you know what? I didn't plan properly for that.
Yeah.
So I need to, put these in place or that in place and make myself feel better, which case a better outcome and so on.
Yes.
So it was a mixture of both, but it's just that taking that time to evaluate what went wrong. I could have just gone on, do you know what, last week wasn't great, I'm going to carry on.
Yeah.
Not actually knowing why it didn't go great.
Absolutely.
And then I can get like 4 or 5 weeks in a row, I've had a bad month. You haven't even stopped
yeah.
to have a look what's went wrong,
Yeah.
So it's crazy. That's so good when you said that, that reflection.
I think it's, it's also about that drive to not waste time. I've always had this, like, can't bear the thought of wasting time.
Don't you dare say it.
I can't bear wasting time.
This is my biggest regret. This is my only regret, is the thought of wasting time.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't bear it.
Yeah.
And I think it's on my mind at the minute because my kids are off school.
Oh, okay.
Holidays. Oh, my God. I used to go in the room and think, what are you doing? What are you doing with your time? Like, do something useful. Do something you're going to learn something. And they look at me like I'm crazy. But I think, in James Clear's Atomic Habits, the habit stacking, about the principle of being able to add a habit to something you already do to help it more disciplined, for you to be able to stick with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why when I come out of meetings, and I'm usually in the car, because we usually go to our clients, is when I come out the meeting, I get in the car, that's when I do the, what could have gone better? What am I really proud of? What do we keep? What do we do better? It's having that kind of habit stacked in terms of when I come out, that's when I do it. It's fresh in the mind.
That's the
and I kind of give it, a bit of a review. And I think it means I'm not wasting time in the car.
Yeah.
The time is very purposeful.
I can't believe that you've been, because I've never told anyone about this time regret that I've got. It's the biggest fear I have.
Yeah.
And I never posted about it, never told anybody. And you've come out exactly the same sentence as what plays on my mind every single morning.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the fear of wasting time.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yes, yeah.
That is unreal. And it's funny actually when you mention about in the car, because so after when I do the podcast, I do a video thing after how it went. It's only for myself. It's not for anyone else. So it's just my video. I said, well, how I responded, how I asked a question, how I done this. Yeah. And I look back at that part later on, and then that kind of gives us. That's always the thing. Every podcast I've done, not I've done many, I've only done 6. But start of the journey. But every single one I've got like in my folders thing, I got like a podcast vlog, and I just got before and afters, who's coming on, and then straight after. It's just like preparing yourself, and then after, what went wrong, as you say, and how I can improve. So it's really funny you say that. But that time thing, I can't believe it. That's brilliant.
But quite tough on ourselves though, right? It's like, I'm always like, sometimes people say to me, oh, you didn't watch that box there. You haven't watched that
Yeah, that's
yet.
it. Yeah.
And I think, I really should, because like the whole country's talking about that box set. But I find it really difficult to just stop and just watch something, because my mind's always going, but you could be doing this. What about this? This could be better. Drive myself mad.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because you think like exactly like that, where someone says, oh, have you watched this? And you're at dinner and everybody's watched this thing. And you're just there quiet. I know how to run a business. I,
Yeah.
I know I deal with
Oh.
HR. Yeah. If anyone wants to talk about that.
I know.
But
Such a
it's
no.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is crazy. But so just I think these questions are redundant, really. But yeah, you've opened up so much already. So with the walk-in thing,
Yeah.
just really, really quickly, I just wanted to touch on this one.
Yeah.
So you know, like when people post about like, oh, walk in, fresh air, but isn't it so true?
Yeah.
Like I go out for walks, and on a Wednesday I work from home, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's actually supposed to be my day off, but I just end up working from home because like you just can't sit around.
Yeah.
And Fridays are my day off, but I tend to do the podcast. I've got a couple of things going on now, so it's like okay, that's just taken a
Yeah.
back seat. So it's kind of like the Wednesdays I always go out for a dog walk with my dog,
Yeah.
and I go out with no agenda,
Yes.
just to take Buddy for a walk.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. And it's a cafe down the road from me, so I go and get a coffee.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think, well, I'm not going to get my phone out, but within 10 minutes, I've got my phone out, making notes
Yeah.
of what's actually allowing the brain to think.
Yes. Yeah.
And you get all the bits out of the roll. Yeah, I've done that. Okay, yeah, fine. If you have forgotten something, quickly write it down, gone. Then you find you start thinking a little bit deeper, the next level. It's like you've cleared the top level, like the dust,
Yeah.
if you like, the
Yeah. Yeah.
to-dos. And then you kind of go a bit deeper. And that's what I find is so powerful with that time. I
Yeah.
know people talk about it and get out for fresh air, away from the screen. And it's almost like past as if it's like nothing. Oh, yeah, you must do this, for 20 minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
But you think, like, you could go out for 2 hours, like, and the stuff you come out with is not you planned the entire year
Yes.
on that 1 2 hour
Yeah,
walk. And it's really deep thinking, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know what it is about the power of it, because it's like one of those things, when people say, "Oh, you must drink lots of water and you must get out in the fresh air." It all sounds naff because it's not new, it's not sexy,
Exactly.
it's
It
not
really
been
isn't.
branded.
Yeah.
But there is something that is magical, cheesy as that is, which is just like when you're just out walking. You could have been trying to solve a problem for the last 4 hours, and then you get out and you think, I'm not gonna do anything right now. Just gonna walk my dogs. Then suddenly you go, that's what I need to do. That's what I've missed. And it's funny how sometimes we deny ourselves the opportunity to do that because the diaries are so full.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes those are the most impactful kind of slots in our diaries when we just get out and choose not to do anything.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it's funny how it works.
crazy.
I find the same when I'm traveling. If I'm on a train for a long journey or I'm flying somewhere, sometimes
First
that's when I
class.
have my. I wish.
Of course.
But there is sometimes the times when I have the best ideas, the most creative time. Where I suddenly think, I can't really do much else. I'm not online right now. And then suddenly I go, oh, I know. We should do this thing, or we should do that, or I should take the family there, or and suddenly these things just suddenly get a chance to breathe somehow.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's incredible.
I used to do the running when I was training for the marathons.
Yes,
and all that stuff. So I'd go out for long runs, and I'd listen to books and such. And sometimes when I found myself going down a bit of a tunnel, I would pause the book and I'd be okay, right, let me just get this out of my head and then clear it.
Yes, yeah.
But the thing is with running is it's just great. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it and get a lot of thought process
Yeah.
time in it. But then all of a sudden you come up against a hill,
Mhm.
and it was a steep one. You're trying to hold on to that thought, like, oh yeah, let me just quickly go with this. And then by the time, if it's a really steep one, if you struggle to get to the top of it, and then you get your breath back, you think, oh, where was I? But the beauty of walking is it doesn't challenge you quite as much.
Yes, yeah. No,
So
true.
that's why I think you've got that flow.
Yes.
It's just constant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Until you've exhausted that thought and it's got nothing left. You got it all out of your head onto your phone or whatever it is you got. And I think that's why it's just so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you know what I tried? And it feels like it's about me, this podcast. But it's not, it's supposed to be you. But just real quick, it's meditation.
Yep.
Have you ever tried that?
Yep. I use the Calm app.
The Calm app.
Yeah. Have you ever?
Oh,
heard?
Calm app.
The
Okay,
Calm.
yeah.
Yep.
The car app. I was like, oh, there's a car app.
Yeah, I use Calm to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I went away a little while ago to Cornwall, and I went on this retreat thing. Not a retreat. Sorry, that's the wrong word. It's a place it's like a cabin in the woods, and it's really, really nice and really calming. And I use those trips to Cornwall like occasionally just to kind of get away from the busyness of London and so on. But this particular place, like my wife booked it for us. So like, I didn't really know anything about it. I said, where are we going? Let's just give me a postcode. And when we got there, it was actually called a Zen Jungle.
Oh.
I know. So the guy there, very, very interesting guy. He sold, he used to be the owner of Sophology.
Ah,
So he
really?
sold it. And then
Interesting.
with that money, he
Yeah.
bought all this land and set up this place. And he kind of found himself. He found a lot of peace within
Yeah.
and just being calm. And so he really kind of found himself in that way. Hit rock bottom. Very interesting story, actually. I think he's written a book. Very interesting story. He's going to like commit suicide off the edge of a bridge
Oh, God.
when he was in Ibiza.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of sold the company, lost his way a bit,
Yeah.
had all this money.
Mm.
He come from a bit of money anyway, but he kind of had now his own a
Yeah.
lot of money.
Yes, yeah.
And then he kind of really thought that was the way, this party lifestyle, etc. And then he then going to throw himself off a bridge. And then he suddenly stopped. And then he kind of found peace within by being calm and
Yeah.
just finding yourself.
Yes.
Much like what we spoke about earlier on, like
Yeah.
how, and he is a lot older. And it took him all those years
Yeah.
to get to that stage that we spoke of earlier.
Yeah.
So it's funny, actually, you're saying there were a lot of reflection he done. He
Yeah.
suddenly found a lot of reflection in himself,
Yes.
got him that peace of mind. And anyway, so I've never done meditation before, and he done a guided meditation. The first time, he goes, right, let all the thoughts go and, get back to the room. And I was like, oh, okay. But I couldn't. I had so many thoughts racing around. I was like, okay. And then after about 30 minutes, it had finished. Oh, I thought, oh, that was nice. It was nice to clear all the thoughts out done. But then I went back the next day. Now I had a lot less thoughts. I dozed off. But it was weird because like how you said when you just let the brain just be calm.
Yes.
It was very, very, very calming. So much so that I just actually nodded off. But it wasn't like a normal sleep. It was weird. It was a real weird feeling. Just thoughtless.
Yeah.
It was just the weirdest feeling,
Yes, yeah.
So I just, I just thought I had to get out there because you were talking earlier on about having no
Yes.
thoughts in your mind.
Yeah.
I think when you said about you walking and you kind of got all the thoughts out and it was just you being calm.
Yes.
I think perhaps that was your form of meditation in a
Yes,
way because
yeah.
it does touch on it, saying you can actually meditate whilst walking as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think perhaps that's what you done really at that
Yes.
time.
And
you
it's
know?
a lot of meditations about kind of just being present, isn't it? And not
Yeah.
troubled by the past or the future, but of just being present. And I think there's something about being in nature which allows you just to you're kind of surrounded by things. And in some ways, it kind of means that my brain's kind of busy as in because I'm walking and I'm seeing things, but it allows my mind to stop thinking a bit about the to-do list and the call I've got later or whatever. It's kind of a helpful distraction in a way.
Yeah.
But I use the Calm app. I do the daily calm, which is the kind of the guided meditation, and I find that incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Just to give me the quite helpful, I think, to have a bit of structure with it.
Yeah.
And Tamara Levitt, who does the daily calm piece, I think her voice is just somehow quite, it's just gets your attention. And it does. It kind of zones you out in a way.
Yeah.
And I find it's probably the most relaxed I am when I'm listening to that. So
Really?
yeah.
When do you do that?
Interestingly, when she introduces it, she always kind of positions it as being a morning activity because it ends with go and have a good day and whatever.
Yeah.
But I actually do it in the evenings.
Oh,
I do it before
okay.
going to sleep, because I find it helps me relax my body. But it also just helps me turn my brain off a bit.
Yeah.
So because it does make me feel quite sleepy. I'm that relaxed. So I find it works best for me then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I did have that and I cancelled it, but I wasn't using it quite like you. I was actually using it for the music, the sea music.
Oh, yeah.
When you go to sleep, I
Yes.
put like the water on.
Yeah.
That really helped
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
And the rain.
Yeah, because there's lots of different things on there, but there's the Daily J and the Daily Move or whatever, and I think they're all really good quality. So yeah.
So with that, what do you reckon, because you're really driven, what do you reckon helped you with finding that, or do you think you've always had it from the start? What are sort of like the little signals that you think, perhaps when you were younger, you think you could probably reflect on and think, actually, do you know what, I always had it, or things happened to me and I learned from those and kind of led me down this path?
I'm not sure what led me to it, but I do have this one particular memory, which I think pretty much summed up the rest of my life. When it was school holidays, often my older sisters would be out, and so I was often in the house on my own. And I couldn't bear that lack of structure, the lack of purpose. I was just saying, finding things to do, you know.
Yeah.
So I got into this habit of going into my dad's shed and tidying the hell out of his shed. Like, I would get it so organised and so clean and tidy. But it's funny in that my sense of organisation was just like, I need to have a purpose in my day, right? And it's got to be meaningful. There's got to be something tangible at the end of it. And so I'd go in and I'd organise all of his tools and bits and bobs into kind of things that I thought would be helpful in terms of him being able to find things. And I'd leave little notes so that when he went to use his hammer, he'd find a little note from me or whatever. But it was that sense of organisation. I wanted organisation. I wanted things to be tidy and purposeful, useful. I didn't want to waste time. I didn't want him to waste time. And I got a real sense of satisfaction out of it. Now, I was only probably about 8. But it's
that was
funny
the start
how,
of it then.
exactly, but it's funny how it feels like that's the way my life's kind of gone. I've always just wanted to be helpful and have something tangible, and whether it's volunteering, I've done lots of volunteering as well. I used to do Friends of the Elderly when my kids were really young. I was with the Girl Guiding for years, but just, you know, feeling like my time is being used for something. Because I suppose I do have a fear of regret that why did I just waste all of that time? Like, that didn't give value to anybody. What's the point? So I don't know what triggered it, other than the fact that my parents have always been extremely hardworking and have always volunteered a lot in their community. So my mum has always been very heavily in Girl Guiding, but at the minute she does the square dancing, she does the Trefoil Guild, she's the Women's Institute. I mean, she's part of everything. And my dad equally, like, captain of the bowls club, and you know, but they've both always been very invested in what they do. They never take time off sick. I don't remember my mum or dad ever having a day off sick. They've always just had a very strong work ethic, a real need to be part of the community and give value to it, you know, don't take, but give. And I think maybe being around those principles has also shaped how I view life and how I view where my time should be spent.
I think you've obviously got something within. And then having that guidance around you. By two people that have got great work ethic. And like you say, investing in others has probably led you to sort of like HR, which I guess effectively you are investing in others as well, because you're helping business owners and so on, supporting them, making the right decisions.
Well, you hope so anyway,
you hope so, I'm sure the new rules are certainly challenging that for you. But so DISC. So you know a lot about that.
Oh, I love it.
So if let's say you're born with it and kind of shaped with it as you go, you know, so for your childhood and etc. What kind of, so I don't know, I think entrepreneurs or business owners are in the main, helpful people, or certainly problem solvers. They want to solve a problem in some way or another in their own vision.
Definitely.
So what kind of DISC profiles tend to suit those sort of people? And are there others that you think, do you know what, actually it's all for, or actually no, it's really just these two?
So obviously the DISC system, the 4 colours which help us understand people's behaviour, I find it absolutely fascinating. Maybe that's why I did psychology, but I've always found it really fascinating. But in the last 20 years, profiled a lot of senior people in organisations and loads of entrepreneurs. And I would say probably 90% of them have been high red and above the line yellow. And what that means is the high red is exactly to your point. The high red score is an indicator of people that are willing to take risk, but absolute problem solvers. They don't stop at the first hurdle. They'll find a way around it, over it, under it, break through it. They're not gonna stop where others probably would. That high red drives energy. It's about wanting things to be better, being very progressive, which basically is an entrepreneur, isn't it? It's being willing to take a risk, get through the problems that other people would have stopped at. But it comes with a level of impatience. You know, sometimes you can be a complete whirlwind. You know, so it kind of brings with it some issues
Yeah.
that you and others have to deal with, but it's very apparent from pretty much all of the entrepreneurs, either our current clients or people I've worked with previously that've been in senior positions, pretty much all red with yellow. And the yellow is indicative of being influential through verbal means. So being really good at being able to build relationships and tell a story and talk to others, build relationships kind of verbally. And that, of course, is important, you know, for most businesses at least, that you have the ability to be able to talk to people and empathize and tell story, because that's how, you know, you sell and you create meaning and things. So it's red and yellow,
Yeah.
but then with enough blue, which is all about compliance and understanding rules and procedures, enough blue that you don't become a complete risk
Yeah.
and end
Yeah.
up in jail. But probably low green, because people that are higher in green really value stability and familiarity and structure, and they generally don't want to lead, they would prefer to follow.
Yeah.
People that are high green, which obviously is kind of in many ways the opposite of the high red, where you're looking for improvement all the time.
Yeah.
So there's a general profile, I think, certainly from the profiles that I've done, which has been hundreds and
I was
hundreds.
going to say, I think you've
Yeah, we've
from a
done
good
so
standpoint.
many.
Yeah.
But
A reliable
yeah,
source.
it's
Yeah.
but it is very telling. Yeah.
Yeah. So just quickly then, run me through the profiles, just top down of the 4.
Okay, so reds.
Yes.
So those that have a high dominance of red, and it's called the dominance scale. For those that are really high, are largely impatient, progressive. They respond well to KPIs because it gives them a tangible demonstration of progress. They are willing to take risks, and they are good problem solvers. Not necessarily that they will be the person that actually solves the problem, but they will drive to have the problem solved.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yes.
Because sometimes a kind of a compromise with having that high red sometimes is that impatience means that they sometimes don't have the patience to go through all the detail to find the answer. So reds often have to have people around them that are good at doing the actual doing bit.
Yeah.
But it is the red that often is driving the fact that they want the problem solved. They want the answer,
Yeah.
you know, and then being resourceful to find a way to get that done. So, and then obviously the low red is the opposite of that. You know, the low reds are people, they're generally not confrontational, quite peaceful by nature, quite modest, far more patient, but sometimes might therefore tolerate too much, you know, might hold them back in terms of making progress for the sake of an easy life, quiet life. So that's the reds. Yellows, high yellows, often very vocal. They'll be the person down the pub that dominates, you know, they'll tell all the stories that people will be kind of looking at because they're kind of quite dominant verbally.
Unlike us.
I can't even imagine. So that can be very influential, great telling stories, but can mean they're disorganized, can mean that operationally not great at putting together the plan, but brilliant at telling the vision.
Ah, okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
So that's why you mentioned the red and the yellow collectively
Mm-hmm.
for the entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah. So the high yellows, and I know some exec directors that are really high yellow, and they are brilliant. Like people would walk over hot coals for them, but they need people around them to actually turn that into a plan.
Right.
But they can tell the story. And so equally the low yellows, therefore, the ones that tend to hang back, that will listen to the stories but aren't going to step out there, you know, and are much quieter, and will influence but kind of through other means. They're not going to be people that would be comfortable kind of networking, meeting strangers, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then the greens, high greens are high greens, which I've got some in my team as well. They really like structure, familiarity. They're really good at building very meaningful relationships, very kind of close acquaintances. They'll have strong networks of people. They've got a really good kind of gut feel of how people are feeling.
Okay.
They can be real gems in a team. Like they can be the glue that holds everything together. They are completer finishers. They want to get things
right.
done, and they
Okay.
want it done right. So they will want a process or a procedure to make sure that what they're doing can be completed. So if you're a green and you're working with a red and the red comes in and says, oh no, we're going to change that now. For a green, you're thinking, I haven't finished it yet. Go away.
Yeah.
You know, so there can be that frustration. So they like familiarity. Often high greens will be happy going to the same place on holiday every year. You know, they love that. Whereas the low greens, often entrepreneurs, the low greens will be those that want to go somewhere different. They want to go somewhere different. They want to experience different things. They kind of could get quite claustrophobic or quite frustrated if things aren't changing.
Yeah.
Because kind of generally low greens can be magpies. They want new things, can be quite impulsive, spontaneous people, which has pros and cons, of course. And then the blues, your high blues are people that really value logic and data, having a rationale. So people that are writing policies, doing research, so very capable and competent of dealing with data and logic, and won't feel comfortable to make a decision unless they have the logic. So often blues will hang back in a meeting because they're waiting until they've got all the information to be able to make their point. They're not just going to, you know, to speak out. Yeah. Because they haven't yet decided what their view is. So they can be very reflective by nature, very organised, because they want to have structure and kind of be compliant. They're very respectful of policy procedure. Whereas the low blues would be those that during the COVID restrictions possibly thought the rules didn't apply to them.
Oh, you know? Okay, I know
because
what you mean.
Sometimes low blues are a bit like, we're not going to worry about those procedures. I'm not going to give you any examples of any politicians that might be low blues that might have disregarded all of the rules because they didn't apply to them. But you know, it would be a good dissertation for a grad out there somewhere about how did the disc profile change and be kind of dealt with differently due to a disc profile, because the low blues are far less considerate of procedures and policies. It can feel quite claustrophobic from them, you know, by them, of rules and procedures. So yeah.
So with that then, this is brilliant. Look, so I've got loads of questions. I'm going to have to do a part 2. I'm going to have to do a part 2. Yeah, we're going to have to do a sequel. So what do you think, out of all those profiles, would make a good management team, say? I'll ask these 2 questions that are really important, and then we'll see what time. But the reason I ask is because on the the EOS traction, Gene Whitman. So basically, he says about like the visionary, the implementer, and so on. Yeah. So, what do you think, in your mind, using the DISC profile analogy to build a good management team?
So what I do, sometimes people feel like that some colours are seen as more favourably than others, you know.
That's what I mean. Because it's almost like you don't always have to be a high red. It's not the way. It's certainly with so much empathy spoken about and all of this sort of stuff and strategy, and you do have to have a bit of both, or certainly a bit of both in your team. And that's why, with that in mind, the completed team, if you like. What would you think?
Because I think sometimes society says messages about what society values. The strategist, you know, the person that's leading, which is rubbish in a way, because you could be a high red all you like, but if nobody wants to follow you, or there aren't any followers, then you haven't got anything. Nothing's going to get done. So generally, I think businesses, that are successful tend to have a chief exec MD that has high red qualities, because they're setting the progress, the path. They need to have implementers, so people that are green, blue around them, those that will put in place the processes, the plan, the operational kind of procedures and things, so things actually get done and can be sustained. You need people in the team that are high yellow, that are able to communicate a vision to the team that is engaging, because if nobody wants to follow you, then nothing's going to happen. So those yellows are brilliant for building relationships with clients, but also internally in being able to influence everybody. And then your blues, often found in the finance departments, the compliance departments, those kind of things, because it's so easy for businesses to fall foul of rules that they don't even know exist.
Yeah.
whether it's health and safety, whether it's GDPR, whatever. So having people in the team that are watching your back, that are setting out what the risk could be, forecasting what could happen, sometimes being the naysayer, and it's being a balance to the red, sometimes overly optimistic.
Yeah.
You can't be surrounded by yes people. You need some kind of blue-green people going, but is that really going to work? Is that really realistic?
Yeah,
Do
challenge
we
it a
really
bit.
need to do that? Or
Yeah.
should we slow down a bit? And it's the ability of the often high red leader to listen to that and take note. Because if they surround themselves with yes people, you can end up in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
So you need all colours in the right positions with the right level of voice at the table.
Yeah.
And all of those colours being equally valued.
And that's so true, because even just in my recent experience, so you know, I've built my team, and there always seemed to be something that was just missing. And like, you think, like, I would come up with these ideas and I didn't really have anyone to really just, okay, here's Brad's idea, let me go and see if it works.
Yes.
And then come back to him with enough confidence, say, actually, do you know what, that was rubbish, forget that idea.
Yeah.
Or brilliant, it's worked, it's now set up, it's on it, it's going. But and it was always down to me to kind of put it in. And then it was like, sometimes, and I keep saying it was down to me really, but maybe it was my own trust issue, perhaps, of like me saying, well, it's my idea, so I would like to get this done and I want to follow it through. And I hate loose ends. I hate them. I'm like, but when's that getting done? And I think that was probably me finding the right person and trust issues as well. Because then, of course, trust is both ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've got to make sure that I've got enough confidence in the team that they can definitely do it and understand what I'm trying to tell them, deliver it in the deadlines that I've given, which then I think in return reflects trust back. You think, okay, do you know what? They're spot on. They're reliable. They can definitely get this done. So next time you give them a project, they haven't failed on the previous one they've delivered. You think, do you know what? They've got this.
Yes.
So I think with that, so since Christmas, I recruited 2 more people in the management team, and it's almost like it's just clicked.
Yeah.
2 different personalities to which I already had.
Yes.
And you think it's just gone like click straight into place. Like, oh my God, that is absolutely, it's just so well balanced.
Yes.
You know, and I know there's going to be some crap days and life is going to throw some obstacles its our way, but certainly in the main, it was missing those couple of vital things. And just listening to what you said about the profile, I think I didn't have a couple of them in the team.
Yeah.
Now I do have, and now I've got that, I think,
Yes.
complete circle.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be so well balanced.
Yes.
So I think it's really vital to have that. You know?
And sometimes we do that with clients. We look at the individual disc profiles and them on a wheel, we call it, on a team wheel, to see where have you got real strengths as a team? How do you play into those strengths? How do you lean into those? But also, where have you got gaps?
Yeah.
So as an example, we've got one business who we've been doing disc with for years, but they didn't have any yellows, any low yellows.
Right.
So
okay.
They didn't have any low yellows. What are low yellows? Sometimes quite suspicious. Quite like, let's just check that, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have any low yellows.
So like yes people.
9 months later, they found that actually there had been some fraudulent activity in their business, and it's gone on unchecked for ages because everybody was so trusting.
Yeah.
But nobody was checking.
Yeah.
You know, and I think God, that's it's so important to know where are your strengths, but where have you got blind spots as a business?
Yeah.
Where do you not have a colour, and what's the impact of that? There's an implication of that for your business. So it's being open-minded to really think about what that means and different strategies in which you can fill it.
Yeah, it's so true.
I think as well, the other thing that you said there about sometimes is about trust, but also high reds tend to have very high standards. So I think sometimes it's about not only do I trust somebody else to do it, but will they do it as well as me? Will they do it to the same standard? Do they really get it? And I think sometimes it's kind of trust, but it's also about standards. And sometimes I think reds, we can be really guilty of going, oh, I'll just do it myself because then it's going to happen faster and it possibly will be better. And then we're our own worst enemy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then you're building up your to-do list and you've got all these people that can help you and no one knows what's going on because you've kept it all to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lesson I've learned. Still learning. I'm in progress. I'm work in progress. But the thing is with that is it's almost like sometimes, certainly I think of businesses of my size anyway, and perhaps someone would tell me I'm wrong, but I think that it's getting somebody to do it as well as you can, or probably the best version,
Yeah.
is better.
Yes.
You know, that's the best version of business, I think, or setting up a management team. And finding people that can do it, that role a lot better than you can do it, that would be brilliant. But I think sometimes as they're growing into that role, it's like having a level that you would accept
Yeah,
and be happy with it.
definitely.
And I think it's having that. You think, okay, they'll never do it better than me, or as good as me, or as
Yeah.
good as what I would like on this particular project. But what would be an acceptable level? What would really tick all the boxes? So I think sometimes those are two levels,
Yes.
and you've got to get that clear in your head. That's something I've learned this year.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's really
You
important.
do need to be really clear, don't you, about what are you willing to compromise on, and how much are you willing to let go,
Yeah.
and go, oh, actually, these things need to happen. It's just like operationally in my business, I'm always striving for improvement. I always want things to be super efficient. You know, just like the E-Myth book. You know, sort of about kind of making sure that you have these
That's a
really,
great
really
book.
tight systems. Absolutely, I'm rereading it at the minute. About systems. And so we recruited Donna into my team. She's awesome. Now I love efficient systems, but she's really good at it. You know, she can see it. She's always looking with there's got to be a better way. It's got to be anything great.
Yeah.
I found somebody with that quality that can do it better than me, and she can own that. You know, and so
Yeah.
it's playing to people's strengths, isn't it?
Brilliant.
And being willing to hand that over gladly.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Well, I mean, we haven't even touched on the personal goals and the wheel of life. We've got so much. Definitely have to do a part two.
Yeah, yeah,
But just two more final questions. So, if someone was to set up a business,
yeah.
this could be helpful. If not, not to worry about that at the moment. But what do you think would be the 3 to 5 key things that they could do
Mhm.
or set up in their business that would really not make their HR department watertight? Because
Yeah.
if they wanted it watertight, they'd come to you. Or if they wanted to make it as close to on the right side of the law, what do you think are the 3 to 5 key areas that they have to kind of look out for or have in place
To keep the right side of the law.
of the employment law?
Hmm.
Or what would you say are characteristics? I don't know, to-dos or
Yeah.
systems?
I think with anything, I think when you start out as a business owner, you need to have your own job description. You need to be clear, and it's hard when you first start, isn't it? Because you're doing everything.
Yeah.
But as you then look to grow, is thinking, how do I play to my strengths? And if I'm a red yellow, my strengths might be about networking or, you know, telling the story, meeting clients, but knowing what you shouldn't be doing because you don't have that skill set, nor are you likely to be good at it, and have really good people on your team. So you effectively kind of create your own little board of people that have been a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there, but people you can go to that are likely to know those risks, point them out to you. So whether it's HR consultancy, whether it's a really good accountant or whatever it might be, or marketing strategist, whatever, having people that you can go to that understand what you're trying to achieve, and that can give you some of their time so that you don't waste a load of time.
Yeah.
And they can help you with the answers to the questions that you haven't even thought of yet, because it's really hard to know all the questions.
That's right. That was something that we spoke about before, and it was like you don't really know what you don't know
Yeah.
until you find out what you don't know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just opens up a can of worms.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you're writing a check.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's funny because, like, it's almost like just as I asked that question and you're answering it, I'm like, really? We outsource accountancy, unless you're a chartered accountant yourself.
Yeah.
And then also you get your insurance. But it's almost like people neglect, like we said right at the beginning, people neglect the HR department. It's like, and I got my hands burnt very early on. I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, I say 3 to 5 things, but it's almost like just one thing. Just get a HR department support.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Outsource
if
it.
HR's not your thing, then
Yeah, of course. If it's not
then
your
find
thing.
somebody that you trust that can watch your back for you.
Yeah.
You know, so saying, watch out for that because that's happened before, or watch out what's coming. Let's change your policies in time. And so, you know, there's a whole business model around small business owners being able to call a call centre when they have a question.
Yeah.
And there's a place for that. Of course there is. And we offer a pay-as-you-go model where people can phone us with a question. It does rely, though, on you knowing what the question is. So if you don't know what the question is, because you don't know the law's changing in 6 months' time, you know, then how do you know to ask the question to prepare your business in readiness for it? So I think if you can, is find somebody that, and it might just be a little bit of time here and there, but could sit down with you and help you know what the questions are to then figure out the answers.
Yeah.
Because it's just it's too difficult, I think, to try and know the question to phone a call centre to get an answer. You need somebody saying, right, Brad, What you need to know is
Yeah.
that thing's changing. That's going to impact your business because of X, Y, Z. We need to change things now to be ready
Yes.
for that. That's what you need. Then you can sleep at night.
And do you know what? I think it's right. So it's just one thing. Just get a really good HR support system in place by externally,
Yeah.
some
Because sometimes
support.
people will say, "Well, I'll just try and learn it myself,"
Yep.
and it could be
Oh,
marketing, it could be
oh
finance,
wow. Yeah.
could be bookkeeping or whatever. Actually, if that's not your strength, don't. Just get someone else that
Yeah.
knows their stuff. They'll be able to do it much better, much faster than you.
Yeah.
So, whoever you want, whatever you need to outsource it
Yeah, definitely.
sooner rather than later. Sometimes you have to take a bit of a leap of faith, don't you? Because it'll be, save you endless worries.
Yep, I totally agree because I can only speak from my experience, and I know that I certainly sleep nicely at night knowing that you guys have got my back, and
Oh,
you're always proactive with the information that you send through. And whenever we need help, it's literally just at the end of a call and
yeah,
a phone. It's
yeah,
absolutely brilliant. So to have that is brilliant. It's building those people around you, not only internally for your own management team, but also the support system that you've got around you as well.
yes,
So
yes,
like a really good accountant, a really good HR support.
yeah,
Just all that, because all that stuff, if you get it wrong, it could cost you tens of thousands of pounds, even
absolutely,
hundreds of thousands, depending on the severity.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely. Okay, and one last thing. So if people were to come and get you,
yeah.
where's the best place to find you?
You can probably check out my LinkedIn profile. That's got all of our contact details on it. So it's Sandra Porter HR. Go on to LinkedIn and find me. Otherwise, we're at HR help at hrdept.co.uk.
Thank you very much, Sandra.
It's been lovely to talk to you, Brad.
It's
Thank
been
you for
very
having me.
lovely. Yeah, very. Part 2 coming soon.
The return.
That's it. Yeah.